The Philippines tops a list of countries most susceptible to hazards caused by climate change.
The climate crisis has reached a bleak moment. It is close to a tipping point from where taking a step backwards would be next to
Pag-asa
impossible.
issues a stern warning about the impacts of climate change on the
Climate
country.
change is fueling
The
more
Pag-asa
powerful
Climate Change
storms,
Data Chief
severe
says the
floods,
country
and
may
droughts
face
as
stronger
well.
typhoons
Nearly half of the
and
country's
hotter
population
weather
live
by
in areas
2020.
highly exposed to climate
mas
hazards
lalo
and
magiging
extreme drought.
disruptive.
Climate change is a serious issue affecting almost every aspect of our lives, and the world is becoming more vulnerable to this change. Historic buildings are no exceptions, and the change of weather is becoming a threat to heritage sites around the Philippines. The Philippines is highly vulnerable to the impacts of the long-term shifts in temperature and weather of climate change, such as flooding, erosion, and sea level rise that might be a contextual threat to some of our buildings, most especially with historic buildings. The province of Ilocos is a coastal region located along the western coast of northern Luzon. Ilocos is known for its centuries-old architecture, a long connection to the past until now that lets you travel back in time. Ilocos also houses several cultural heritage sites here in the Philippines. The province of Ilocos consists of 32 municipalities. Magsingal is a third-class municipality and was founded in the year 1676 by a Spanish colonizer named Captain Juan Salcedo. Magsingal also has some well-preserved historic buildings. However, due to the effects of our ever-changing weather conditions, it became vulnerable to the following effects: general increase in intensity and extreme conditions of storm, wind, rain, and temperature directly affecting the historic fabric of the building. A city without old buildings is like a man without a memory. Cultural heritage generates a sense of personal identity, unity, and group belonging. It also helps us comprehend our origins and the history of where we came from. Cultural heritage is the core of every nation around the world, where culture evolves spontaneously in the lives of all humans. Cultures do not emerge over a decade or even a century, but rather take many years of practice to be regarded as the history and culture of a certain location. Magsingal is full of treasures. One of these is the National Museum Magsingal Branch and Ilocano Heritage that was once the rectory of the Friar Parish priest, built at the same time as the church in the year 1676, then later turned into a museum in the year 1977 that would house the antique collection and artifacts of Magsingal and was formally opened to the public in October 1982. It is a well-preserved museum wherein, upon observation and interviews, states that 70 to 80% of the materials attached are still the original pieces that have been well-preserved and restored. Since Magsingal is located in a coastal region, it is inevitable that typhoons always pass through and cause heavy rains and strong winds. The heavy rain creates moisture and dampness to the exterior fabric of the historic building. Biogenic deterioration is the presence of vegetation on the surface of the building that is mainly caused by the climatic conditions of a tropical country like the Philippines that are favorable to plant growth. Providing a protective coating like linseed oil can be applied by brush or spray and will dry to a tough coating. Sealing the pores of the stone will prevent the stone from deteriorating. The pigmentation and the presence of algae is caused by the dampness on the surface of the building, mainly caused by the rains, creating these black and green stains on the exterior parts of the building. Stains can be removed by frequently washing or cleaning stone surfaces with water, and steam removes the deposited dust, dirt, and salt. The use of chemicals can make cleaning the stone surface easier, but it may introduce salts that can damage the stone. Clay bricks are known to withstand over 100 of years, but due to the ever-changing weather of the country, damage to the roofings of the building came from impacts on the tiles such as trees or branches falling caused by strong winds or the effects of the past earthquakes. Exposed bricks is the loss of material from the surface of the building. Happens when bricks and sediments are picked up and moved to another place by water or wind. Plastering the surface with a mixture of quicklime, water, horsehair, and sand that creates a durable and workable plaster that is the original plaster used in old historic buildings that can stand the test of centuries. The need to use stone preservatives are one of the options to lessen the effect of climate change on stone structures. In addition, in order for us to lessen the future damage of heritage sites caused by climate change, we need to understand the vulnerability of materials to climate variables and how traditional materials and practices need to adapt to the extreme weather events and a changing climate while figuring the impacts of climate change that is causing changes in the society. Amidst the impact of climate change in the country, especially to heritage sites, recommended action should be provided. First is funding. The peculiarities of climate research and cultural heritage, which include a wide range of fragile and aging materials, extensive exploitation for cultural tourism and financial benefits, vulnerable and remoteness, imbalance in between a large number of sites versus a small number of managers and conservation scientists, requires a definite concerted effort for research in that area. Second is the cooperation and competitiveness that prevents the duplication of efforts. Cooperation is needed and is also improves complementaries and synergies in basic research, which requires bringing together a considerable amount of data in applied research, which needs the identification of common mitigation and adaptation strategies. Third is creating policies, where research must be converted into policy actions that helps to avoid the use of inappropriate strategies. Countries that experience an effect of a certain type of climate change on a cultural heritage should share their knowledge with those newly affected by similar conditions. Fourth is by providing trainings. The public is acutely aware of global climate change issues, but they're less aware of the specific characters of the risk threatening cultural heritage. Therefore, there is an urgent need for teaching concerning the issues of cultural heritage facing climate change in university syllabus to provide specialized training for related professions like architects, engineers, curators, and conservators responsible for historic monuments. And lastly, the transfer of knowledge to practice must be increased so that cultural heritage should be prepared to adapt to our future climates. Having proper knowledge on how to make it more resilient to future disasters and how to increase its survivability is necessary. Despite the fact that there are aspects of climate change that we cannot control, there are things we can do to lessen the damage. Climate change cannot be solved in one day, but rather we can hope that we can lessen the effects and we can learn not to further damage our beloved home Earth. Therefore, with regard of the effects of climate change to all heritage sites, what best we can do is prevention rather than solution, because as time passes, change is inevitable.